I actually wrote a short that I'm gonna shoot with a friend, and I steal that and I put that on the script.
You put a bunch of clapping.
That like the time sync, so it's two people recording a podcast together, and she's like, "Why do you take so much pleasure in that?" I'm like, "I don't know.
It's funny.
It's just funny."
It's like, you don't know. You have no idea what we're talking about right now. But every single time before we start recording, we clap 3 times in a row so we can sync the audio in post-production. But it's like this joyous thing every time before we start recording. We give ourselves a round of applause, and then we start talking. So,
I would like to do some scientific research to see if high fives actually do something for your endorphins. Because it seems kind of like that. Something about like high fives or clapping, or there's some kind of like physical rush that the body. I mean, I never
totally
see people crying when they're clapping or giving high fives to each other. Usually they just got big smiles on their faces,
Yeah, it's the chicken or the egg. Like,
yeah, it's true.
Like,
yeah.
Like, do you get stoked because you're clapping, or are you clapping because you're stoked?
Yeah, but do you, when we start the clap sync, do you have a big smile on your face beforehand?
I am. I'm smiling.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah,
I always have a big smile afterwards.
Oh, right.
I just start laughing.
It's hard to clap your hands together. And like, I do it like a big old idiot too in front of the microphone. I'm like, yeah.
So do I.
And I just imagine everyone else just cheering, So we step out in front of our microphones. The keyword crypto. Welcome everybody. Oh man. Well, I'm wired up on caffeine today, so I don't know if that makes for a good podcast or not. I'll probably just talk a lot.
Yeah, what else is new? That's what we do. We ramble. It's coffee talk.
There's been a lot of weird things in crypto land lately. I mean, we've got Harry Potter's mom talking about crypto. We've got Satoshi moving coins apparently.
Yeah.
2009 address. So what's let's hold off on that for a second. And then What's the other thing is drama with Steam and Hive or whatever the fuck that is. What a catastrophe.
And then on Twitter today, Vitalik said, "I acknowledge you, Cardano."
I didn't see that.
The Zill guys were like, "Hey, Vitalik, what the fuck? What about Zill?" And he's like, "Fine, I acknowledge you, Zillica."
What about Nano? It's fast and free.
I should have, but I'm like, I don't want to be that much of a Nano reply guy.
Oh my god, Well, it's about time. It's been about 2 weeks since we've done a podcast, I think. It's been a while.
It's been a while. Mario's our last one, right?
Yeah, and what an interesting show that was. If you missed it, go listen to our show with Mario, where we thoroughly offend him, I guess. That was
in the moment he didn't seem offended, and afterwards he didn't seem offended. He seemed offended by our tagline on the show, which we should have warned him. We use our titles as clickbait and just kind of fuck with people. I mean, honestly, for baby boy Bennett, we said, watch, be careful. He's watching you. It's like, he's not watching anybody. He's just, but it just makes it's funny, so.
Well, no, from the beginning, when we started talking about Blockstream, Mario immediately went defensive. I mean, he was like, oh, okay, this is what we're talking about. I mean, it's like, come on, we're like critics of crypto here.
Yeah, but he doesn't know. He doesn't listen to our show. He doesn't know we're skeptical of Blockstream.
I know, but no, the whole thing. I mean, I didn't want to say this to him on the air, but the
so we're gonna say it on the air now.
I'll say it behind his back now. I don't want to actually say it to his face. That's not how I work.
I mean, have you seen how big Mario is? And he's got that long flowing hair. Dude looks like he could beat people up.
My hair's pretty long these days.
Oh, yeah. I hate to break it to you, JJ, but you're not that big. I'm sorry.
I'm pretty small. I grow my hair to compensate. No, it's like when I start to ask about Blockstream, and he immediately is like, "Oh, I didn't know we were going to." I mean, it's like this is the issue that I have with a lot of the maxis. It's like, oh, if you don't understand this, then it's not worth talking to you about, or I shouldn't have to defend this because it's the accusations are baseless or whatever. It's like, man, if you don't want to talk about the things that people have issue with, then you're living in your own bubble. And that's the thing. I mean, when you're in conversation with somebody on a show, and Mario, if you're listening, it was an awesome conversation, and I felt like I learned a whole lot about Blockstream. But like sometimes you always gotta be ready to talk about the criticism if it's there.
Sure, and let me play devil's advocate, because that's what we're good at that with each other on this show. Mea culpa. When we start, before we hit record, we said, "Hey, how about we talk about this, and this?" And he actually even said, "Like, no." So you said, "What are we going to talk about?" And I started talking about this. And he's like, "Whoa, wait! I said I'd come on the show so we could talk about the WHO in China."
Oh.
And we're like, "Oh yeah,
sorry.
okay, yeah, we'll talk about that." And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you're like, "Yo, why is Blockstream a piece of shit?" And he's like, "What the fuck? Where did that come from?" Like, we just talked about what we were going to talk about, and he didn't say that anywhere.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I didn't know.
So, to be fair to Mario, we did kind of blindside him with that, and he definitely had. That's why when he tweeted that, first off, I was like, "Fuck, Mario, come on! You're gonna like live tweet that? You're gonna just put that out there? You don't just DM us and I could delete it?" And but then I was like, "Okay." I think, and he told in a DM, he told me why he did it, because he wanted to protect himself with his company and say, "Look, I didn't know about this. I'm putting it on the record."
What are you talking about, real quick? Because just of our listeners have no idea.
So he tweeted, he's like, "Hey, I'm kind of, perturbed about the title of our podcast, of the interview, because we titled it Mario Defends Blockstream." And he's
Mario
like, "I didn't."
Blockstream,
yeah, he's like, "I didn't come on the show to defend Blockstream. I don't feel that Blockstream needs to be defended. I work for the company. I'm proud of what they do. Like, I don't feel I'm not coming on here to defend them. I would never come on there to defend them, because that's not my job. They would send somebody who's, more experienced in defending with the details, or defending Blockstream with the details. That's not my job. I came on the show to talk to you guys about other stuff." Yeah. And I said, "That's totally fair. We did the title in jest, because the very first words out of your mouth once we hit record is, I want to say that I'm not here to defend Blockstream. I just work in customer service, so I can't answer these kind of questions for you." And we were like, "Okay, that's fair, cool." And then the first thing we do is like, "Mario defends Blockstream, news at 11."
And when I actually edited the podcast, the working title of the episode was "Defending Blockstream," which is not very directional. We as a group, we actually talked about the reasons for Blockstream to exist, and and we talked about its products, we talked about its business model, all those things, just to get it out in the open, even though he wasn't there to defend it. We weren't actually being critical. We were talking about what a great company it was. So I didn't think, I wasn't thinking of that episode being about him defending Blockstream, but just
I'm sure also he's like, "Oh shit, Blockstream's going to look at this and thinks that I came on a show to defend Blockstream to these guys who are anti-Blockstream." And they're like, "Why are you doing that? Why wouldn't you send a PR person in your place?"
Yeah.
So I'm sure he was a little nervous. And I'm like, "Okay." So and to put it out there, JJ sends me the wildest titles sometimes. Because he edits it, he sends it to me. I'd say about 60 to 70% of the time, I completely change the title. And he's never complained, because I realize we're just kind of like bouncing stuff off each other, and sometimes I feel the need to like, "Hey, I'm going to do this instead." Sometimes I just don't, because I realize that he's just putting a working title up, and then I just put it out there, and then see how it flies. And so far, it's worked out well. But
I just listen for the most ridiculous thing somebody said during the episode, and then I like exaggerate it by 10, and that's usually how I get.
And if it's like Bennett or like carbon based or something like that, we can get away with that. But I realize now, if we're working with, if we were like interviewing the Winklevoss twins or something like that, we probably shouldn't be doing that. But
it's pretty. It's pretty crazy how much a title and a headline, how much power that has. Like people, because we called it Defending Blockstream. Like some people went on Twitter and actually rated our argument over like who had the better argument. It's like, that's not, you missed the point. But
exactly. It's like, no, the point was he wasn't actually defending Blockstream.
Yeah. But that's the way the age of like content on the internet works now. Is you have a
Yeah.
YouTube channel, and it's like, Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Cash. Which one is better? It's like,
Yeah.
I guess that's the clickbait.
And
All right.
we actually made a conscious decision about a year ago. We're like, look, we got to make our titles a little more clickbaity, because in a sea of 1,000 podcasts, we don't want to be like Bitcoin going to $100 million, invest now, nothing like that. But we want our titles to be a little like catchy and fun and humorous, and I think
you got to stand out. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think we got to remember that sometimes we have people. We're interviewing people who aren't in on the joke. We got to make sure we need to remind them what the joke that it's all like.
There's a weird sense of humor in crypto, and it's like it's hard to describe. I mean, it's a little like kind of non sequitur kind of. It's a lot of the humor is rooted in running jokes and memes that most of the world wouldn't understand.
Yeah.
But because it's kind of an alternative finance thing, there's a lot of people who come from financial industries that aren't as familiar with that kind of humor, maybe because they don't have it in their office places or whatever. And so
or in their own lives.
Or in their own lives at all. I mean, like,
it is finance.
We're musicians and actors on this show, so our sense of humor is totally different than that of somebody who like works in accounting or whatever. I don't know. Maybe. That's the weird thing about the internet is these days. Is it's like now there's a place for people who are bankers that are into weird jokes about animals or something like that. It exists. The niche is there.
I'm listening to a podcast right now, and it's the last 3 episodes. It's about going down the rabbit hole on YouTube, and episode 3 and 4 were about how YouTube kind of changed PewDiePie, and how he grew and grew and grew, and they were driving more and more people to his channel without him doing anything different. And then all of a sudden, you had 99 million people who don't know the inside jokes.
Yeah.
And so he'll make a Hitler reference or this or that, and people
crazy.
lose their shit. And he's like, what the fuck? I've been doing this for 9 years.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed. Oh, you changed your algorithm, and so now the Wall Street Journal's watching my little fucking stupid show, and now they're calling me a racist.
It's crazy. I mean, that dude has over 100 million subscribers.
It's
like, we
crazy.
can't even conceive that. Like, he could be president of the world if he wanted to be.
I know.
Donald Trump might have 100 million followers on Twitter or something, but no one has that many people watching them on video every single day. Like, nobody in the world. Like, nobody can even conceive of that much power. It was
funny because Wall Street Journal with 5 million subscribers tried to go after him and tried to like go toe to toe with him, and he's just like, are you serious? It's like flicking a fly away.
There isn't like a Black Mirror episode about PewDiePie yet, is there? I feel like there needs to be. There needs to be
there
one.
is. There is.
I know
the people living in the whatever, like the hotel or the whatever it is, and they're all like competing to be these social media stars.
Oh, maybe that one. There's the one with the insects that attack people's brains through Twitter or something like that. I feel like they're all kind of related to social media. I don't know. PewDiePie, he's like Max Headroom from the 80s. Like, he's not even a human anymore. He just comes on the box and says crazy things. But like
on the box, you're so old.
He comes on the box. It doesn't matter what kind of box it is, computer or TV. But we just. I mean, I'm surprised that he does okay with that much power. He probably. I wonder if he wakes up in the morning and freaks out and it's like, holy shit, I've got 100 million people watching my videos today.
Yeah, that'd be pretty crazy.
And to think that that's just a glimpse of what the future holds.
Oh my god, yeah.
I mean,
I'm watching the Michael Jordan documentary right now, and he said, being they're doing some record, like some video shoot or something like that. He's like, everybody says they want to be like Michael Jordan for a day or a week. Nobody would want to be Michael Jordan for their entire life.
Yeah.
And they start talking about fame and infamy and all this stuff, and like you can't, So he on the way to the game, he has to stop and sign like 1,000 autographs, and then he has to play the game, and then after the game he has to do interviews, and then after that he has to like sign autographs, and then he has to go to the hotel, and outside the hotel he has to sign another 1,000 autographs, and blah blah. And it's just like he can't, just at every single moment, if he's outside of a private space, he's got 1,000 people swamping him.
That's got to be really hard.
Like, you know what? That is the reason we only have 200 followers on this podcast.
Well,
we do it
maybe,
specifically just for that reason. We don't want to have thousands of people outside our doors.
Well, these days I'm finding, like when I was a kid, there was only like a few ways to get famous. Like, I mean, you could politics, art or music, Hollywood. You could become a supervillain, I guess. Like, I mean,
or royalty.
Or royalty. There were only a few ways to actually get famous.
Yeah.
But now you can get 1 million followers on Twitter talking about some
video games,
some bullshit.
Yeah,
or literal bullshit. Like, I mean, like talking about nothing at all. I mean,
like
even
cryptocurrency, like us.
there are crypto. I guess we call them influencers. Crypto influencers that have hundreds of thousands of followers that really don't do it. I mean, not so fast.
Just shit post the entire time.
I mean, not so fast has as many followers as Noah Smith. We're both guests of the show. Noah Smith talks about economics and is a writer for Bloomberg. And Not So Fast is a shitcoin trader. I mean, it's like, I love Not So Fast. I think he's a really smart guy, and he's probably the best person to be following if you're following any shitcoin traders on Twitter. But still, it's like, whoa. So, and these like rock stars. Michael, have you ever been in a situation where you've had to deal with everyone knowing your name or anything close to that at all?
No, thank God. I would not do well in that situation. I'm gracious to a point, and then once I'm like the Snickers commercial. Dude needs a Snickers because until they get that Snickers in the person's hand, they're just like Aretha Franklin diva or whoever, and just like a complete asshole. Like, that's me when I get grumpy. Oof. People would always be like, growing up, it was like, oof, we know who's grumpy now. We know who needs a nap. And I'd be like, I don't need a nap. And you're like, bro, you're 20. Go fucking take a nap.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something.
All right, so let's get into it. What are we talking about? Crypto, yeah.
Well, let's see. Where do we start? I think I don't know. This is just the 2009. So let's talk about some conspiracy theories about why these coins are moving.
Okay.
So let's set the stage. So some wallet from, was it just one wallet or was it from several wallets?
From one wallet.
Just one wallet from 2009, very early in Bitcoin's history, moved like, how many Bitcoins was it? 50, 40 Bitcoins?
Okay, so I on Twitter, I've read 50 and I read 40. So I'm not 100% sure.
Right.
So we can have some Bitcoiner hate tweet us after this when they listen to this.
Let's just say 40. So 40 Bitcoins moved from one wallet to Coinbase. Now, first of all, like if Satoshi were moving his coins, you think he'd really be like, I'm going to go KYC at Coinbase. Type in my name and my passport, Satoshi Nakamoto. I mean, like...
I didn't even think of that. That's hysterical. you got some intern at Coinbase working from home going, doing the KYC check and like, Satoshi Nakamoto?
Oh, we got another Satoshi. Put him in the Satoshi pile. It's like... I mean, that's like the first thing that came to my mind. I was like, Coinbase. It's an interesting place for Satoshi to move his coins.
I didn't know it was Coinbase. I didn't even think about asking that, like where it was.
Now, here's the thing, though. If Craig Wright is Satoshi, and Craig Wright wants Bitcoin to work with legal organizations and KYC exchanges and stuff like that. Craig Wright talks shit upon shit about exchanges like Binance. Then, I mean, if that's the case, then Coinbase is a pretty good exchange to move your coins to. So nothing wrong with that. But
maybe it doesn't have BSV. Why wouldn't you pick an exchange that supported BSV?
Well, there you have it. I mean, yeah, he could have chose Bittrex, I think.
Does Bittrex have BSV?
It does, yeah.
Okay.
So okay. Maybe he's moving his coins there to try to bribe somebody to get BSV on.
Yeah,
on
maybe he's paying.
Like
maybe he's paying 50 Bitcoin to get BSV listed. You heard it here, folks.
Here you go, Brian Armstrong. Here's the 50 Bitcoins you asked for.
So William Shatner replied, and he's like, God, I mean, like, how long would it take for them to even get 50 Bitcoin back then? It's like, holy crap. I'm just like, 10 minutes? Because it was 50 Bitcoin reward per block.
That's funny.
No reply.
How long would it take?
Sorry, Bill.
I love you. Hundreds of years ago, when Bitcoin you had to ship it in wagons across the U.S.
Like, I love you, Bill, but on that one, you didn't.
That's funny. That's funny that he even replied to that, though.
He's all in Bitcoin right now. He loves it.
It just makes me think he's even less of a real person. I mean, like J.K. Rowling, Max Headroom. Like J.K. Rowling. Okay, here's the thing about J.K. Rowling. Like, I'm like, is she just really fucking bored or something? Because today she feels like trolling the Bitcoin community.
Oh
like,
my
who
God,
does
it was
that?
Classic. Did you see her response that Elon replied to? And then Elon's response?
I didn't go into it that much. I think I saw that Elon Musk replied, but like,
so she said, all I can tell is that it's like something about like crypto animals and trading cards, and it doesn't seem like it seems like it's imaginary money. And Elon's reply was, "Yep, pretty much." And then send some other stuff. But all the Bitcoin people were like, yeah, look at Elon supporting Bitcoin. He's like, he just agreed with her that it's imaginary money.
Yeah.
How is that supporting Bitcoin?
So this happens every once in a while when a celebrity, basically trolls. I mean, remember when Bill Gates did it and he was like, I would short Bitcoin if I could. And then everyone goes on and is like, well, you can. Here's my BitMEX referral link if you want to short Bitcoin. It's like, oh man, don't you get it? Like, these people are just trolling. But J.K. Rowling, so why does she care about trolling the Bitcoin community? Like, she's just really bored in quarantine. Maybe.
Sure, yeah.
She's got no other creative Harry Potter books to write, so she's gonna just go after Bitcoin. Like,
or maybe she honestly thought that putting it out into the universe, she'd get a halfway legible answer.
Really?
Not knowing the crypto community at all.
Well, all she did was draw a lot of attention to Bitcoin. All she did was kind of even like give it even more legitimacy by having a celebrity talk about it. And not just any celebrity, but a celebrity that people look up to as an intelligent person. So,
really?
I mean, that's yeah. I mean, you thought she brought negative exposure to Bitcoin. You think she did harm to Bitcoin?
I mean, I think anytime somebody with her platform uses Bitcoin as a punching bag, it pushes it back like 10 steps.
That might be the case.
Just because it's people just kind of it becomes a kind of it's now the new meme of, oh, these Bitcoiners are just fucking incels, they're idiots, Anybody who says so, I mean, like right now, the joke with most women is if the guy talks about Bitcoin on the first date, big red flag, don't go on a second date. Like, that's the joke a lot around most women I talk to.
That's just good advice.
Yeah. When they find out that I do a podcast like this, the first thing in my mouth is like, oh, no, we're critical of it. And they go, oh, okay, cool. We can go again. We can go out again.
Yeah.
But like, that's a serious meme. So that's the thing. Like, Bitcoiners aren't helping themselves when they have all those like, we're gonna eat like shit and only eat meat type stuff. And to be fair, most of them are betas anyway. and they're trying to act like alphas, and it looks kind of ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be like Bill Gates going like, I'm going on an all meat diet because meat's the best, and then trying to like do this tough guy voice, and he would be a laughing stock. And Bitcoin is kind of a laughing stock right now.
I mean, all those idiots are there. They're not going away. So I feel like anytime you draw attention to crypto, it's like, I mean, the first thing you have to do is expose the idiots and get them out of the way. And I just feel like that's what's happening. I mean,
maybe, yeah.
I don't know. Like, if you go on a date with somebody and they start talking about anything related to like investing and shit, it's probably a red flag. Like, I mean, it's like, and
don't trust this person with the mortgage of your home.
but like, okay, you bring negative attention to Bitcoin, like bad exposure. Well, we got to get through that somehow. It's here now. So I don't know. I feel like it's going to make Bitcoin is a household name now. My brother, like my brother posted on Facebook. He asked everybody to say what their most like wackadoodle 2020 futuristic thing is that they can think of, and his own reply to that was, there is this thing called Bitcoins, and they can be worth millions of dollars, and you quote unquote mine them on the internet, and nobody knows who created them. And it's like, yeah, that's pretty wackadoodle. Like, so yeah, I mean, like household name,
they could be $1 million today and $4 tomorrow.
And no one knows where they came from. It's like, okay, there's video game money in the future.
Yeah.
So I think we're in the future, everybody. Bitcoins are here, and they're worth millions.
Do you say Bitcoins, plural?
Well, I say Bitcoins whenever I'm
making fun of it?
Mocking somebody else talking about Bitcoins. Well, I mean, when you say like you mine Bitcoins on the internet, I mean, it sounds pretty funny. Like, but actually mining Bitcoin sounds pretty pretentious to somebody who doesn't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
you mine the Bitcoin. Yeah, it's like.
I got in some argument with some guy, and it was like, no, it's Bitcoins, plural. I was like, is it really? Is it? Because it just sounds weird when it's Bitcoins.
It makes more sense with the S, actually. Bitcoin makes it sound like it's some single entity that we're all after.
I don't know. It sounds like fish to me when someone's like fishes. When a European's visiting who English isn't their first language and they say fishes, it like that's the reaction I get when people say Bitcoins. I have 10 Bitcoins in my wallet. Like, okay,
that's funny. This is actually a funny conversation because like people are probably thinking of this and they haven't really thought about it. I mean, they're probably thinking this in their heads, but they haven't actually talked about it, like whether we're supposed to say Bitcoins or Bitcoin. And to me, saying Bitcoin sounds pretty pretentious. And probably at the very beginning of Bitcoin and crypto, referring to crypto as Bitcoin, like just probably is like, no, do you have some Bitcoins to pay for those drugs or whatever? Like,
do you have 10,000 Bitcoins to pay for these 2 pizzas? Hey, happy pizza day, everybody.
Yeah, happy pizza day. 10,000 Bitcoins. Yeah, you wouldn't say 10,000 Bitcoin. You have 10,000 Bitcoin to pay for those.
I do. Weird. I would just say I got 10,000 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think maybe now that like owning multiple Bitcoins,
like I don't
is
say
like
golds. I have 5 ounces of golds. It's not a gym.
But you would say you have 5 gold coins. You wouldn't say I have 5 gold coin in my pocket.
Yeah, that's true.
All right.
But
so
I think it's
Harry
like
Potter's mom.
Yeah. Okay.
So Harry Potter's mom, going back to
this is what she's actually trolling. She probably heard conversations like this. It's just like, these guys are fucking idiots.
Yeah. But we don't know what's up with these coins that moved from this wallet, like or why. The one theory was that Craig Wright is still trying to prove that he's Satoshi, and he can't actually move any from the Genesis block. So he hired a bunch of his friends who own Bitcoin that were mined in 2009, and he got them to move them to like try to like show like, hey, I'm making my move. It's like,
but once again, it was KYC, so Coinbase could easily check who moved it.
and maybe that's part of the point. Maybe we're going to find out. I don't know.
Yeah.
How would we find out in that case? Like,
I don't see Coinbase releasing that information.
No.
And keeping their license. Their licenses.
So the weird thing is that it's like it kind of works, I guess. Except why? I don't know what block it was from that those were moved, but it wasn't the first. So it's like, okay.
It's one of the early ones.
So there were people mining in 2009. There probably weren't very many.
No, I think there was like 4 people or something like that. It was his friends. And that's like people were like, oh, Ethereum had a pre-mine. I'm like, so did Bitcoin for the first million. It's like nobody knew about it. If I started a blockchain right now and mine it for a year with my friends before anybody knows about it, that's kind of a pre-mine.
Right.
Sorry. It's like,
so help me figure this out then. So let's say there's like
ghosts, dude. It's ghosts.
5 people. Let's say there's 5 to 10 people who are mining Bitcoin in 2009, and they all probably know who Satoshi. They probably all know Satoshi from the internet or maybe in real life. So either those people just moved some coins, or that person just moved some coins or some coin, and or somebody who had those keys moved it. Like somehow those keys. Somehow those keys transferred ownership, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty weird. Like, I mean, that is spooky that Bitcoins that are that old have moved.
I mean, look, we're in the middle.
Pretty darn close.
I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic leading into a most likely a depression. So if you mined Bitcoin back then, chances are you probably have at least 1,000 or 2,000. Right? And so maybe you're hedging your bet if the entire planet collapses and you're like, you know what, I'm just going to put 50 Bitcoin into cash and just in case.
Or maybe so. That seems like a small amount. I guess you don't want to totally crash your Bitcoin market stash.
Yeah. So, I mean, you saw what happened with just moving it alone. You didn't even sell it.
Did that actually make an impact on the price? I don't even know.
Yeah, the price dropped like $1,000.
Okay. Well, there's always some correlation, isn't it?
And then it jumped right back up. But
I still don't believe it has anything to do with the price, but I guess there's always some sort of fundamental correlation you can make.
So you remember back in 2018, during at the beginning of the bear, like after the pump, in the beginning of the dump. For the next 2 years, if anything happened, any kind of news, the price would become volatile. Anything. China's banning it. Bitcoin would drop 30%, 40%. And then after about 2 years, it stopped reacting to these, to any kind of news. And I remember Crypto Bobby one time was just like, hey, I have a feeling we're kind of at the bottom now because every time a news article comes out, Bitcoin doesn't do anything.
I don't know, Michael.
And that's how I know that's why I have a feeling that we've reached a bottom. And that was like after it had gone down to 3,400 or 3,200, whatever it was.
Maybe I have like a selective memory or something. I know all of those. I know most of those moments that you're talking about, like when China bans ICOs or Bitcoin Cash, blah blah.
Yeah.
Or I remember those things happening, and they do line up with the changes in price. But I still feel like those price drops or those pumps. I still feel like that's hindsight for me. I'm like looking back and going, okay, I can see how talk about China banning crypto or ICOs would have made the price drop there. But in the moment, I was kind of like, who knows? We have no idea what is actually causing the price to drop.
Well, no, because the price is dropping because people are selling.
Well, it's because people are selling, or because one person is selling a lot.
Exactly.
Because like one big whale. But that's the thing. I think the price is mainly moved by whales.
No, but that's what I'm saying is that at a certain point, the whales are going to try to shake more people out, and then you get to a point where the news doesn't affect it. The only people who are left are the people who are like, I don't give a shit if China bans it. I'm not gonna. Yeah. It's not gonna make a difference to me. I'm keeping my Bitcoin. And so at that point, the whales realize, okay, we've shooken out everybody we can possibly shake out. Now let's try to do a capitulation day.
Okay, so do you think that now the news has more impact on price?
Right now, yeah, absolutely.
Because I don't think it does. I don't think it does.
I think people are terrified because they've been hyping up the hopium so much about the halvening and thinking it's going to go straight to 20,000, and then it hasn't breached 10,000. And I think that they're all just like, oh no, yeah, it's going to happen, it's going to happen, it's going to happen, with their finger on the sell button, just waiting because they're so fucking terrified.
Yeah, that would be that's a good explanation. I do kind of like it that we disagree on that, though. It's one of the things on this show is I really don't think news has anything to do with the price at all. Even though looking historically at the charts, you can put a historical event on every pump or dump there is.
Well, to be clear, let me be clear. I'm not saying the news caused the dump. I'm saying a whale used the news as a way to dump.
Yeah.
And whales were using that. They were like, oh, here's a news day. Great. Boom. Let's dump it.
Yeah, that might be.
Definitely see, China doing it caused all this stuff, and like, because they can't say, hey, I did it. I dumped the price, $1,000 just to fuck with you guys and to scoop up more Bitcoin.
Man, the stock market has to be the same way. I mean, everybody just like going, oh, coronavirus. This is a perfect time for us to like get out and be able to blame it on something other than insider trading.
Yep.
Crazy. So that's pretty spooky that a bunch of Satoshi's friends moved their coins to Coinbase.
One person, one block reward back then. So it's not.
Yeah. So one of Satoshi's friends, so a ghost of some sort. And who were the people who claimed to be back then? It's like, Adam Beck, and like, I mean, there just weren't very many people who are still around, like who are on Twitter and stuff like that talking. So it's
that are on Twitter. I mean, that's what I was saying. We have no idea. Yeah. It could be just some computer nerd who got sick or something. It was like, oh shit, I need some cash. I'm gonna sell 50 of my 10,000 Bitcoin, and just cover all my medical expenses. Who knows? Like, it could be anything. It could literally be anything. Because that's like the hard thing about crypto Twitter is people think like this is the crypto community. And it's probably just a fraction of the entire crypto community.
Yeah. Do you know if Craig Wright has actually commented on it at all? He must have, but I'm not in his circles, so.
I have not. I
wish he was still on
I don't
Twitter,
run in those circles.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be, because if he's like taking credit for it, going like, "See, I did it," I'd be like, "Bullshit, go home." Yeah. But if he's just kind of quiet about it, maybe, who knows? Because if his thing is that he wants to have a grand entrance as Satoshi, he wants to be proven in a court of law, and he wants to be, like, why not? Just be like, get your Coinbase coins ready.
Yeah,
put a hidden signature in that transaction there that says "Screw you, crypto Twitter" or something like that.
It could say "Fuck you, Coinbase" as it's going to Coinbase.
Oh yeah.
Let's segue into a similar topic that I want to discuss for just a few minutes. Is oh my God, I'm blanking on the words.
Forgot what it was.
I'm so tired. I didn't sleep last night. Supply and demand, and the idea of demand, because people keep talking about stock to flow and this and that, and demand's going to go up because of this and that, and what we see is that there is no actual demand for Bitcoin. Like, it's not real. It's all fabricated. Like, no one's using it on a daily basis.
Demand,
yeah. And so maybe a couple people in Venezuela, but I'm hearing that most of those people are using Dash and stuff like that because Dash is faster and cheaper. And
it's so weird that they're using Dash.
And so
why?
Who knows? Why would you use Bitcoin at $6 a transaction right now? Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
At least there's some legacy to it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but I feel like after your third transaction and you've lost 75% of your net worth because you only make $2 a day, you're going to be like, this is stupid. Why are we using this?
No, I imagine if anybody's buying Bitcoin in Venezuela, it's the relatively rich people in Venezuela, or the people who have money that they want to hide. They don't want it to be stuck in. But those people would probably be buying US dollars if they could. But if they couldn't, then I guess.
A couple people are mining it and they're part of a mining pool, but it's just like, okay, the only people who can afford to do that are people who are pretty wealthy, pretty well off, who can afford that kind of equipment. But it goes, I just, the idea of supply and demand is always negated if you don't have an option to say no. So it's not actual demand. It's completely manipulated demand if I can't say no to it. So like healthcare or housing, if there's no housing, obviously the price starts to skyrocket if there's just not enough housing. If I live 100 miles, if I'm at a hospital and the nearest hospital is 100 miles away and they say this we're going to charge you $50,000 for a $10,000 procedure and I'm dying, I have to say yes. I can't say no. That's not how the market, that's not a real market. So so
there's no demand.
So that's why it's so easy to manipulate Bitcoin for whales. It's because they're preying on FOMO, and they use these this idea of like, the market's crashing, the dollar's going to crash, so they create artificial demand, they create FOMO, and then they can start manipulating the price. They can do these swings, they can do these $1,000 swings, when 40 or 50 Bitcoin get moved from an old wallet. So it's just, if people are aware of that, if people think in the back of their mind, okay, what's the actual demand? Are people using this more now than they were a year ago? No? Okay, so there is an actual demand. This is all speculation. This is all FOMO. And what happens when the FOMO dies? What happens when eventually people say, what happens when you've reached peak FOMO and nobody else comes in? That's where it starts to become kind of like a pyramid. And so if you can only get 10% of the population to fall for it, what happens after that? Well, the price starts to tank. So just, be aware that a lot of this stuff is manipulated. A lot of these prices are manipulated. If no one's actually using it, there's no reason for it to go up in value outside of how much it costs to mine. So just keep that in mind. That was my soapbox for the day.
So what's going back to 2017, December 2017, Bitcoin hitting 19,000 and something dollars.
Yeah.
So that's exhausting the FOMO right there, right?
Yeah, that was all based on that was not based on any kind of usage. That wasn't based on any kind of actual need. That was nothing but FOMO.
And that was pulling a bunch of people in who had enough money to invest what they couldn't afford to lose, basically.
And then lost it all. Yeah.
Roping everybody in. But then, okay, so, yeah, right. So Bitcoin's at $10,000 right now, or like 9,000 or something like that. So a lot of people are looking at the charts thinking that Bitcoin has to eventually revisit its all-time high. No, that's not necessarily true.
Not at all.
And
people say, well, because mining costs so much. Well, what if we figure out a way to decrease the costs of mining? What if year after year, because computer technology gets better, right? Mm-hmm. So they're making it harder to mine, but computer technology gets better and smaller and faster. So what if we get to a point where it doesn't cost that much to mine? So Cedric Dahl had a great interview with this guy who is using free gas burn off from oil people who drill oil in North Dakota. So they have this leftover stuff and they have to burn it off, and they can't even give it away, and it's like this wasted energy. And he says, "Hey, I'll take it off your hands."
You're talking about, what's his name? He has a podcast, right?
Yeah.
Well, damn, we should definitely shout out his podcast. God damn it, we should know his name.
The fuck.
We'll put it in the.
He's essentially charged. He's actually
Marty Bent. Marty Bent is his name.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's essentially paying $0 to mine Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So his cost of Bitcoin, he could be mining it at $500. Like if Bitcoin was $500, he could still mine it for a profit. I mean, maybe not $500. Maybe because he's got miners and this and that, and so he's got he has to pay people. But the cost of when you're paying $0 for electricity, your cost plummets dramatically. So somebody like him, I'm not saying he is, in no way am I saying Marty Bent does this, but I'm saying somebody in his situation could easily tank the price of Bitcoin and not care and be able to survive and manipulate the price and then scoop up more Bitcoin at a cheaper price and then pump it again. So I'm not saying Marty Bent does that, but I'm saying people in that situation who have cheap, China has very cheap electricity. They could easily be doing this. You just never know. So it's like, this is kind of like the PSA of the day. Just be aware that if there is no actual demand for something, it's all manipulated price.
Yeah, of course. It's interesting that he's using basically leftover energy. I personally believe that we are really close to the discovery or invention of a new energy source of some sort, whatever that means. And I have a feeling that energy in the near future, will probably be very cheap because of this kind of black swan or whatever it is.
Well, electric now is officially cheaper than coal and natural gas.
Yeah.
And
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we're going to get fusion or whatever, fission, but something along those lines, because right now we've been in this crazy economy for the last 20, 30 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Technology since World War I has just exploded.
Yeah.
Since the discovery of electricity in the 1800s, where are we now with the internet and computers? It's just inconceivable. So right now we're possibly, very likely, about to enter a depression. Our planet is becoming inhabitable because of what has been happening to it over the last 150 years. We are finally at a point where we need an alternative energy solution more than ever before, or else we will go extinct. And even before that, we will run out of money and we will all starve, basically. So it's like right now we really have the incentive to do that.
Yeah.
So it's very possible that we could find some way to, I don't know whether could be solar, it could be wind or something like that, but that would make Bitcoin cheap to use. I mean, or cheap, at least cheap to mine. So something to think about.
Yeah, I mean, the price of the miners would actually have to go down, like the machines, the ASICs, that would have to go down. Like everything would have to shift for the fees to become manageable to use on a daily basis for people living in Ethiopia.
I think it's weird that it takes an inefficient, noisy machine to do what Bitcoin needs in the first place. I mean, it's kind of a weird design, but
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think he envisioned ASICs. I think he envisioned people just doing it on their laptop.
Yeah.
And then he didn't realize the monster he created.
Excuse me.
I mean, he's Dr. Frankenstein, in essence.
And that's why he's probably dead. I mean, seriously, otherwise wouldn't he have stepped in and said, hey, we got to do something about this?
Or maybe he's just a true libertarian and believes that the market should fix itself.
Was Satoshi actually libertarian? Did he say anything on Reddit ever that?
I never really dug too far into what he said and did, because I'm not a big fan of. So
there's got to be like a Bible with like all the words that Satoshi wrote on Reddit.
Sure, but like so I'm as like raised as an artist and going to school as an artist, you learn pretty quickly. And we did a podcast about this called "Kill Your Baby." And it's about like once you release your project into the world, at that point you have no more say in it, because it's true. Like the market decides what it is. Like I don't get to dictate how other people think about my art. And so once I put it out there, I have to kind of just walk away and let other people experience it and talk about it and critique it. And then I can listen if I want to, but I can't justify it, because I can't say you were wrong for experiencing my art that way. Like I don't have that right.
If you have a controlling interest in it, like Satoshi does, then you could throw your weight around. So it's not like
maybe, but if he's a computer programmer, he probably doesn't need that money anyway. If he enjoys what he does for a living, and if he's still alive, It's like at the end of the day.
I know but that's my point, is that he could probably alter the. I mean, if
he's alive, he absolutely could alter it. Yeah.
Yeah.
If he stepped out,
that's the thing. It seems to me that he's probably not alive, or he'd be working really hard to change it. And the only person who is that loud about trying to change it is Greg Wright, really, which is kind of ironic.
Well, maybe he's Jackson Palmer. Maybe Jackson Palmer Satoshi. And instead of trying to change Bitcoin, he said, let's let the market decide, and I'll just make an alternative.
And I'll go to work for Adobe.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll create an alternative, and then I'll rage quit that. Oh, Jackson, we love you.
Or maybe Colin from Nano is Satoshi, and he was just like, you know what? I created this monster. Nobody can use it. The whole purpose was peer-to-peer currency, peer-to-peer cash, and now nobody can do that because the prices are too expensive. So I'm going to create the exact opposite, something that's free, that you don't have to mine. I mean, how Satoshi would that be? Fed up with your own project and learning from it, and then making something entirely new. That's my conspiracy theory for the day.
That's your shitcoin conspiracy theory.
But so last little comment on the supply and demand thing. Mm-hmm. So, and manipulated supply and demand thing is if somebody is trying to convince you to FOMO into something, and their sales pitch is Bitcoin is going to be worth $1 million or Bitcoin's going to 10x. Those people don't believe in Bitcoin. Because the goal of Bitcoin originally was to become the new world currency.
Yeah,
and to get rid of dollars.
The US dollar. Yeah,
and those people are fiat maximalists. Those people only care about how much they can sell their Bitcoin for US dollars.
Unless they're unless they're just saying that to get you interested.
Yeah.
And then once you're interested and they go, actually, that's not the reasoning.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's what Satoshi did. I mean, he just took a cool way of communicating and put a dollar sign on it, really.
Yeah, maybe.
That's the only way for blockchain technology to take off and people to get serious about it, was try to accumulate as much as possible of a thing that doesn't exist.
True, yeah.
By calling it money.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, yeah, I don't even know if it's worth talking about the Steemit thing. I don't know much about it. Like, all I know is that, like...
that Justin's son called the cops?
I'm calling the police.
That was classic. Classic Justin's son.
Well, here is the issue, though. It's like... wait, and this goes for all, like... This goes for all cryptos that operate in a similar way. It's like, how do you buy a decentralized cryptocurrency, or how do you buy something that's supposed to be distributed? Like, you just come in and say, here's a bunch of money. Who do you pay that money to? Well, obviously the controlling party. So there was a bunch of people who, I mean, I don't know, what am I trying to say here? How do you couldn't do this with Bitcoin, right?
No.
Like, so how did this work? Somebody came in and said, I want to buy EOS or whatever. Like, you could do that because there are all the presidents of EOS. And
I mean, I thought there was some kind of fork or something, and then he forked off, and then they stole his forked coins and then tried to sell them on Bittrex. And then Bittrex came out today or yesterday and said, we're not going to honor those coins. We're going to give them back to Justin's son because we found out they were stolen from Justin's son, which is probably the legitimate thing to do if you're a business and you want the American government to not like steamroll you. Is if you know that something's stolen, you kind of have to give it back to the owner.
Okay. I'm looking at some headlines right now. Justin's son Steemit accused of censoring Hive-related content. I'm looking at Justin's son recounts Steam Hive hard fork at Justin's son bought Steemit. Steam moved to limit his power. So there's these little coups that happen in crypto where it's like Justin's son comes in to basically wants to buy the brand, not really buy the...
Well, didn't he buy the majority stake?
So he buys the majority stake. So he basically 51% attacks to Steemit.
He did a hostile takeover. I mean, it's
takeover,
what we do on Wall Street. On Wall Street is a hostile takeovers.
insane that this happens in crypto among like geeks. Like
this is why
it's a hostile hard fork. So what they did was they hard forked Steemit so that they could keep Steemit after they sold it to him. So they didn't steal his coins. They tried to keep what they had created, and they tried to sell something crappier to him, basically.
Maybe
and then they kept his coins.
I thought no, because they put it on Bittrex to try to sell it, and Bittrex says no, we're gonna give it back to Justin.
Man, it's so messed up because it just makes every party out to be just so shitty.
Yeah,
like Justin Sun trying to buy a cryptocurrency, and then that cryptocurrency being like "fuck you, no."
Well, I mean, I think it's a perfect example when Bitcoiners, especially, or just maybe libertarians on crypto Twitter, try to say like this is how economics works, and you're like, point to one example in the history of the planet that's worked that way. Like, economics works a specific way because that's how people usually act when they're being irrational. You know, and that's and economics is just kind of like studying those irrational behaviors and trying to make economic policy based on that. But like, I feel like a lot of crypto Twitter people are computer people, and they're used to zeros and ones, and it's very easy because a 0 is always 0 and a 1's always a 1, and they can figure it out, and that's not how the human mind works. And so they think that people are going to act rationally, but they never do. And so it never works out the way you want to do. I mean, there's that old saying that military people use, the best laid plan falls apart once the first shot's fired. You know, just because at that point you have no fucking clue what's going to happen. So, I mean, having a plan is great, but it always falls apart.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what happened with Steemit. There could have been some sort of resolution there, but
I don't know if there could have. I mean, Justin Sun's kind of a plague.
A plague? Well, yeah, I guess so. I mean,
the whole Tron debacle of pretty much just like not pirating, but just like copying and pasting.
Yeah, that's messed up. Copying and pasting to copying and pasting code to make a blockchain, and then to buy BitTorrent, which is used for stealing software. So get this: he builds Tron, trying to take a hostile takeover another crypto. So yeah, he's kind of a plague. He's like out there he's like playing Risk.
But this is crypto. So people are like, oh no, TRX is great. Like no, what he did is he created his own crypto in essence for free by just copying and pasting everything. Sells it to people during the ICO craze. Mm-hmm. And then takes all that money, and instead of building on TRX, he goes out and buys all this stuff, buys BitTorrent, buys Steemit. It's just like, so he's taking the money that people that gave him to invest in TRX, and he's doing it to do hostile takeovers of other projects instead of just building on his own network.
He's doing the literal Wall Street businessman Risk board game, basically. Yeah. It's like, and he claimed to be the protege of Jack Ma or something. The guy who created what's it called, that big huge
Alibaba.
Marketplace in Alibaba. So if that's who he learned all his shit from, well, this is what we can expect. Then. Somebody who's just going to try to buy the entire world strategically, one piece at a time.
It's like, I wouldn't trust oh my God, I wouldn't trust Jeff Bezos if he's like, I'm going to come up with a cryptocurrency. I would not invest in that cryptocurrency. I just wouldn't trust him.
So many people would invest in that cryptocurrency.
And they'd probably just do that. They'd probably take all the money from it and start buying
I think of George Soros or something like that. Like a dude who just is just going to come in and just destroy everything.
What?
That's what I think of
George Soros? He's like super liberal guy that's trying to stop the world from burning.
Oh, am I thinking of someone else? Oh, maybe I'm getting the name wrong.
George Soros is the guy who is trying to stop global warming and stuff.
Okay. Who am I thinking of then?
But everybody accuses him of like paying protesters against conservatives, and so maybe you're thinking of like the Republican version of him.
Maybe, yeah.
Like what
the
they
Republican
say
George Soros trying to wreck everything.
Yeah,
by paying protesters
to try to get clean energy so we don't have global warming.
It's a pretty interesting. I mean, it's a pretty interesting time in crypto, but when is it not?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
Hostile takeovers, Harry Potter, Satoshi's coins. Are we missing anything? I feel like there's been some other wacky things that have happened recently.
I don't know, but if you're listening, we have to post Mario's episode up on YouTube pretty soon. So why don't you pick the title for us?
Yeah. How about...
And we won't run it by Mario and get his permission first, so you can make it as bad as you want.
We should just call it Keyword Crypto Defends Blockstream.
Yeah, against Mario.
Yeah. Yeah, who should we have on next? We've got a few awesome guests lined up.
Yes.
We've it's gonna be a fun couple weeks.
We were supposed to have somebody today, but they had a hospital emergency. So fingers crossed they're okay. We wish you the best.
Crazy time to be going to the hospital.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's got to be scary. So
what's LA like right now? Is everyone taking things seriously, or are people starting to get really bored and want to go out all the time?
You know what? I keep hearing stuff on conservative news that LA is getting worse and worse and worse, and Trump just now said that the CDC needs to come to LA to figure it out. And I was like, what's going on? And so I start doing some digging, and NPR is actually like, a reporter in Chicago through NPR was like, you know what? He said the same thing about Chicago, DC, and LA. He picked those three cities, and I'm here in Chicago, and we flatlined. We're not going down, but we're also not going up. It's just we've plateaued. And so is DC, and then I thought they said so is LA. That LA is not actually increasing cases anymore, but it's just kind of plateaued. It's not going down. So it is kind of frustrating. I'd say about 60, that's too high. I'd say about 35 to 40% of the people I see on the street aren't wearing masks. And I read an article from a woman, and she said the stats are that like 70% of guys aren't wearing masks because they feel it's emasculating. But I have the exact opposite. Every time here I see two people working out together and it's a man or a woman, the woman is almost never wearing the mask and the guy is. Like if they're going for a run. And so I was like, why aren't women in my part of LA not wearing masks? And I just can't figure out. I'm trying to figure out. It's just like, I'm not sure. So I'm hearing these different stats, and it's not jiving with what I personally experience.
We live in a time where we have to trust. It couldn't be more appropriate for this age of like fake news and stuff like that, because we live in a time where you absolutely have to trust these entities that are not super trustworthy. I mean, like mainstream media and our president. Like, what the fuck? Like, how do we even begin to trust authority right now? And yet, when I look around my neighborhood and my city, I don't see a pandemic. I mean, most people aren't really wearing masks. Most people, I haven't met a sick person yet. I don't know. There's no one in my family who's gotten COVID. However, I hear terrible things about it, and I believe in them. It's just weird that we actually have to trust. We have no choice.
Yeah.
So we are, and then the whole. I mean, it's really hard when they've lied to us too. You know, it's like shit. They fucking lied to us, even if it's something small like masks.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We talked with Mike and Space about this a few weeks ago.
I don't think they lied about it. I just think that. I mean, because now they're
lied about it.
No, I disagree.
They told us that masks. They told us that we don't need masks. They told us that masks.
No. They said use them if you're coming into contact with people, but if you're not, then just social distance and you don't need a mask. And nothing's changed about that. Now they're even saying you can't get it from. They think that you can't get it from touching something that somebody else touched.
Now they're giving people tickets out out in public for not wearing masks.
Because people freaked out. And so now they had to go the other way because people like Mike in Space were like, oh my God, masks are so important. Masks stopped the thing from happening in South Korea and blah, blah. And so everyone was like, oh my God, no, we never need masks. And now more and more data is coming out that says, oh yeah, the mask isn't actually helping you. It's just stopping somebody else from getting sick. So like if you're sick and you have a mask on, it makes it easy. It makes it harder for a person across from you to get sick. But it doesn't actually stop you from getting sick.
I just feel like the tactic of scaring people we have to do it, I guess. We have to scare people in order to get them to do what needs to happen. That is just such a...
Yeah, but
I don't like it.
I get frustrated when, first they complain that they said don't wear a mask, and now they're complaining when they say do wear masks. It's like, what do you want? That's the thing. So people freaked out and were yelling at the CDC and WHO, saying, you told us not to wear masks. And so they're like, okay, so wear masks. And they're like, fuck you, freedom! And you're like, what the fuck? What do you want me to do? I gave you the best information I had at the time, based on past outbreaks. And now, they're just getting attacked left and right. And see, they're falling for what Democrats have fallen for the last 20 years, is trying to please Republicans. And Republicans have this great tactic, and it's great politics, is just never be pleased. If you want something and they give into it, say, that's not enough, I want this now. And so always kind of keep them guessing. And fucking liberals and Democrats are just like, oh, please like me. Here. You want less health care? Okay, I'll give in to you. It's just like they've fallen for the last 20 years, and now the WHO and CDC fell for it. So, okay, I'm going to stop. I'm fucking rambling.
All right, everybody. That was a great
That's
show.
a great way to end it.
Thanks for listening. Hope you guys are all staying safe and trusting the authorities and all that stuff. Yes. Apparently now, throughout the country, churches and mosques and synagogues are going to be opening up because
that's not going to be dangerous at all.
That's what the president wants, and so that's what we're going to get.
Yay!
All right, everybody. See you next time on Keyword Crypto.
We should probably say our names next time. I just realized.
No, yeah, we forgot to actually do an intro. Fuck.
That's just kind of the funny part of our show, though, right?
I don't know if we should make it a meme.
What?
Probably not good.
What? Not introducing ourselves?
Yeah.
No, we should definitely introduce ourselves.